I was given a HELLER Fouga Magister as a St. Patrick's Week gift. See what I got and how I built it right here on Garage Stuff. Hi there, I'm Gary. Welcome to the channel. Welcome back if you've been here before. Today I'm talking about the Fouga Magister trainer in 1/72 scale from HELLER. I'll show you what you get in the box and I'll show you how to put it together. If you like the show, and I hope you do, please remember, give it the old imperial thumbs up on the like button below because every like counts. And if you haven't done so yet, you can support the channel for free by subscribing. Make sure you also hit the bell and you'll be notified of all my future content as it is published. And of course, if you want to make a more concrete contribution to the channel, information on all my partner programs is in the information box below. This kit was sent to me by Damien McKeever. Damien, thank you so very much for this. It's really much appreciated. All the way from Dublin for St. Paddy's Week. Love it. Thanks very much, mate. So, I'll show you how I'll put it together a bit later on. But first of all, I'll show you what you get inside the box for your money. So here is the box of the HELLER Fouga Magister CM170. It's in 1/72 scale. There are 66 pieces. When it's complete, it will be 140 millimeters long and 170 millimeters in span, and there are two color schemes provided. This box art here illustrates an aircraft from the Patrouille de France, the French National Aerobatics side. Think of them as a French version of, I don't know, Red Arrows, Blue Angels, Thunderbirds, that kind of thing. On this long side here are the two colour schemes that come with the kit. The first one, indeed, is from the Patrouille de France. The second is from the German Air Force in 1966. On the back of the kit, and I like this quite a lot, there is a little bit about the aircraft, not very much, a tiny little bit of information about the aircraft. There are some basic statistics. However, what you do have is the paint callouts here in HELLER and Humbrol, which are the same numbers, and Revell, which is kind of interesting. And there's a layout of the waterslide decals as well, which is fantastic. So let's have a look and see what we get inside the box. We have an instruction sheet, of course. We have some plastic frames. We have a transparent frame, and we have the decal sheet. Now, what I have as an additional part in this, because Damien, who sent it to me, added these, are the layouts and decals for an aircraft of the Irish Air Corps, which is what I am going to be building. So let's have a look at these bits and pieces in a bit more detail. Frame 1, as you can see here, are the two halves of the fuselage. Frame 2 contains the upper and lower surfaces of both the wings. In frame 3 we have the tailplane, we have the undercarriage, that looks a little bent, you need to take care of that slightly. The undercarriage, the air inlets and the wingtip fuel tanks. The last of the the blue plastic frames is the cockpit tub and seats, I think the nose landing gear, instrument panels, various bits of doors and aerials and stuff, and optional underwing fuel tanks as well. The clear frame contains the single piece windshield and canopy. It has a nose landing light cover and two covers for the outer parts of the nose of the wingtip tanks were clear, and that's where they had things like navigation lights because they were fitted permanently. So these are covers for where the navigation lights go on the wingtip tanks. If we have a bit of a closer look at the plastic, we can see that the panel lines are raised, but there is still a lot of detail that's been pushed in, like these vent inlets here. There's some, I guess, radio boxes on the top there that sit behind the rear seat. There's a tiny bit of flash on that, but nothing terrible. Something that will clean up quite nicely. Otherwise, they look fairly well made. I mean, the tooling itself comes from 1980, and this Reeboks that I'm building today comes from 2018. So at the time, it was a 38-year-old kit when this was boxed. So it's now 44 years old. The tooling's 44 years old, but it seems to have stood up. The only thing that really concerns me in any way is in here. We have, just get something to point, we have this big ejector pin here, but as you can see, we also have some alignment posts for the fuselage tub. So I guess this one for certain has got to come out completely, and on the other half as well, where this is, that's got to come out completely. I'll see whether we need to get rid of this one or not, but certainly this ejector pin is going to need to come out before the tub will sit properly in it. Generally speaking, the wing sections look fine. All of the flap details and ailerons and trim tabs, all of these have recessed lines. It's just the other actual panels that are raised. It's fairly rudimentary, but okay on the inside there. There's only a couple of bits of the moulding that bother me, like here on this trailing edge here, but this will match up with this trailing edge here when we put two together, so that will be easy enough to fill and sand and get looking absolutely spot on. So it's not too much of an issue with these. As for the really small parts like the crew seats here and the instrument panels, they look okay. I think there's no decals for the instruments, so they're going to be brush painted, and then do a bit of a dry brush over the top just to pick out some of these, maybe tiny little spots of colour or white in some of the instruments to make them stand out a bit. But they're okay. Generally speaking, these actuators from the elevons at the tailplane, they look fine. Tiny little tail wheel that's there to prevent over rotation on takeoff. That's a really, really little thing in reality. Nothing on the Magister is particularly big. It's quite a small aircraft and sits very low to the ground. So there's the cockpit tub itself is here. So it is actually quite basic. But the mouldings look nice enough for what they are. The decals that are supplied come, as we mentioned before, in aircraft for the Patrouille de France display team from France and from the German Luftwaffe in the early 60s. The kit does include markings for every one of the Patrouille de France aircraft, plus with the names of, I'm guessing, the pilot and crew chief, or something like that, with the stripes to make it, it's basic blue colour. And then you had some sort of red bits as well for the red, white, and blue of the national flag, and then lots of bits of white on there for go faster stripes, I guess. There's some basic stenciling here as well, and then these are for the German aircraft, as you can see. The names are reasonably clear. I mean, not sometimes incredibly easy to see. If we put in our 0.5 mil standard 0.5mm graphite here, you can see they are very, very finely printed, but not terribly legible. Here let's switch this around so we can see the logo for the team, the Patrouille de France. The black is nicely enough printed, but you can see the yellow is out of register here. And if we go to the German scheme, again, it's this kind of strange edging here. It's not terribly good. And here's the aftermarket set that I've been sent. The colours look better. Certainly the reds look better. Blacks look nice and crisp. And the colours look pretty good. I'll have a closer look and see whether these are spot color screens or whether these are dot prints. But let's have a look and see how they've got these colors. Well, the colors appear to be screened on, but again, there's a very slight mismatch here between what they've done is they've printed a white circle first, then they've put on the green and the orange as separate screens afterwards, and that orange screen isn't really aligned very well with the white, so you have like this slightly darker edge, but it's not the end of the world. They look pretty good. It's nice to have an Irish scheme, let's be honest. The rest of them do look a lot cleaner. Yeah, the rest of them are fine. The red's not as sharp as the blacks, but yeah, good enough. Again, have a look. These are very, very, very small things, but they're very readable. Again, 1/72. I think they're going to be fine. The instruction sheet is just a folded piece of, I think, A3 maybe. Instruction, very simple, 9 steps given here. A bit more sort of exploded diagram than you would normally have these days from most manufacturers, but doesn't look terribly difficult to follow, it must be said. They give you paint callouts where you need them, and all the paints are given here. I wish more companies would actually, when they put in paint numbers, they would have an accessible list of what those paint numbers are, because it's really annoying going through, say, some of the Airfix instructions of late when you've got some quite complex cockpits. You've got 5 or 6 different colours in the cockpit, and you have to keep going back and then writing on which ones they're supposed to be. It's annoying. It would be nice if they were either the right colour or they had colour references readily available through the build. Anyway, off of my soapbox now. So, cockpit tub, wingtip, tanks, undercarriage, assemble everything together, put the wings on, jobs are good, and that's all you need to do. On the inside, there's the final few things with the canopy and so on, and what's that, a gun sight for the rear pilot, which is nice. And then the layouts for the colours, the Patrouille de France aircraft from 1978, and the Luftwaffe aircraft from 1966. And then with the aftermarket Decals set came the colour layout for the Irish aircraft, which is essentially, it says dull silver. I guess it's a bit like the high-speed silver that the RAF used, so it's like a silver and white mixed together. Humbrol 11 actually comes quite close to that, probably not intentionally, but it comes quite close to it. And then there's these Decals red panels as well. I've ordered some Decals red paint for that to make it nice, stand out really nicely. And for the detailing around this, what's this, navigation aerial here, people keep thinking, oh no, it's like a handling thing. It's not. These are aerials for one of the navigation systems, and they're actually painted red and white, you can see here. The book I was given actually details that, so that's a thing to remember, but we can hand paint those. One thing I'll need to do first is to put together paint the seat, and then start adding the pieces of cut up masking tape in order to make the straps. Remember, I mentioned before, this is a 5-point harness, so you have to make sure you put this one in as well. Then when they're in, we're just going to paint them pale blue, or mid blue rather. So now we've painted the straps on, the seats can go into place in the cockpit. Then the control panels can go in, the instrument panels rather. They've just been dry brushed and a few spots of colour added here and there. Once we put all these pieces in, we can put the control columns in as well. You can get the tweezers the right way round to do it. There we go. So the control columns go in like this. So when you're ready, you can put the cockpit tab into half of the cockpit like this. Then there's a bulkhead here that sits at the back of the undercarriage bay. You can just paint that up with a bit of aluminium. The instructions say to put the undercarriage in, nose undercarriage in. I'm not going to because I will break it and this is too small to fix. So I'm going to leave that off. So next thing to do is just put the two halves of the cockpit together, tape them up and glue them up. The wing halves go together straightforwardly. They just snap into place quite strongly actually. Nice connection. And just tape these up and glue them up. Then onto the side here we have the inside of the inlet clipped in. There's a couple of pegs that hold that in place. Just drop a bit of glue in there and that will sit in nicely. Yeah. And then the outside of the air inlet sits over the outside of that into place like so. Then we can, I've painted up what's going to be inside the canopy when that goes on in a little while, but first I'm going to put the wings in and they just slot into the sides like so. And then we can fit the characteristic butterfly V tail as well. The wingtip tanks just simply sit together. Now remember, you've got to leave space at the front end for the light to go, and light cover to go over. So the light's actually there. The light cover goes over. So we'll just line it up as well as we can. It's not very easy. I could have done with some pins in here to help you, but I think it's as close as we need to get. So what we're going to do is when we've done this, we'll paint the interior with silver. The little knob there is going to be the light, so we'll colour that either red or green depending, and then we'll put the cover over the top. Then when they're assembled, the wingtip tanks can go onto the wings. Something else we should do at the moment is drill out these holes for the VOR aerials. Something else we need to do is very carefully drill out these holes for the VOR antennas. They are so thin, the plastic here, once you start going on it, typically they'll just push through, but do please be careful when you're drilling anything. I've masked off the canopy and windshield. It's quite a long job to do this because there is quite a lot of it. But anyway, now I'm going to apply some Crystal Magic clear PVA around the edge, and then we can stick this down and leave it for an hour or so to set in place. PVA is wonderful because it gives a clean seal and also dries transparent, but it does take a long time to dry. So with a clear coat on top of the colour, I can start adding the decals onto the model. So for the main undercarriage, you can put the actuator strut in first. It sits into a hole there. Then let's put a tiny dab of glue on the connector point there. Then put the main leg into a hole here it's got a half moon shaped hole, so you can only put these one way round. Then the actuator sits onto the leg like so and holds it in place. Then the gear doors can go into place as well. The VOR aerial just slips into the holes we drilled for them earlier on. You can very carefully put the landing light cover on the nose of the aircraft and keep it in place with a bit of PVA, clear PVA adhesive. So, as soon as you touch it, this thing just sort of jumps. There we go. All over the place, that'll do me. So there it is then, the HELLER kit of the Fouga Magister in 1/72 scale. I will have to say I really enjoyed making this. It went together very, very well. There's no fit issues really to speak of at all. Undercarriage went together nicely. Cockpit was fine. I put in the straps myself, but otherwise everything was grand. The colour scheme I enjoyed a lot. The Mr. Colour fluorescent paint I think really pops out. Maybe you can't see it on the video because fluorescents don't show up so well on video, but in real life they really, really shine. And I love the scheme, the Irish Air Corps scheme. A great build for St. Patrick's Day week. Thank you so much, Damien, for sending it, mate. There it is then. I really enjoyed that. Thanks so much, Damien, for sending it. Now, if you enjoyed the video, please do remember, give it the old Imperial thumbs up on the like button below because every like counts. And if you haven't done so yet, do subscribe to the channel, hit that bell, and you'll get notified of all my future content as it is released. Thank you so very much for watching today. Hope to see you again soon. Take good care now, and goodbye.